All right. So hi, I'm Shivesh. Um, I most of you over here may know me, but those who don't, I've been with Pravega almost from the start. And last year we built Schema Registry, and we recently did an O2 release for it along with Pravega 09. So today we'll cover Schema Registry. Right now it's still in the experimental phase. So the API sets, although they are stable, but they could potentially change based on the user feedback and anything that we get. And that's why we are still in the experimental beta phase for Schema Registry. So to start with Schema Registry, the motivation for us building the Schema Registry is essentially Pravega is an unstructured storage. It doesn't impose any structure on the data. It receives raw bytes, it ingests raw bytes, and delivers raw bytes back to the application reader, right? So the writers, they serialize the raw bytes, and the readers deserialize it. They need to know the structure of the data that has been written to make sense of it. This works well for most applications where you actually have baked in the structure or the schema of the data that's going in, and you know how to make sense of it. But there could be applications like you want to do any business intelligence on your data, you want to run queries on your data that's there in your Pravega stream, and that can be enabled only if you have some access to the structure of the data that's there in Pravega. And that's where Schema Registry comes in. I mean, you could have included the schema along with the data as you were writing it into the stream, but many a times your schema itself could be pretty bulky, and it could be bigger than the actual payload size. So it would be a lot of wastage space, and you would be doing this for each and every event that you write, which effectively means a lot of space wasted. So what we have done is something which is also done with other Schema registries. We create a separate service in the Pravega ecosystem called Schema Registry, where we actually store the schema for the data that you have in Pravega, and we allow you to tag your data with the Schema Registry issued identifiers for the schema that you have, so that at the read time when you read this data, you can actually resolve it by querying the registry service and get the corresponding schema for the ID that you have. So Schema Registry provides you the schema for the data that's there in Pravega. It's not just limited to that. It also helps you manage the schema that you have in Pravega. And by schema management, you typically imagine a scenario where you are actually working with some problem where you've created or defined a schema, a structure for your data, which has, say, n fields, and subsequently, as your business needs change few months or years down the line, you want to modify this structure to incorporate the new business requirements. So you have additional fields that you want to include over there, right? That's called schema evolution. You are evolving your schema from whatever earlier state it was into a newer state, and you could have certain in data that's being ingested with potentially newer schema, whereas you may not have chosen to upgrade all your writers, and some writers could be ingesting data with older versions of the schema. So this could lead to compatibility situations if your reader applications are not expecting changes to the schema. So it depends on the context in which you are running your application, in how you are going to be making use of data in Pravega. But Schema Registry allows you to manage the schema and evolve the schema with respect to the compatibility policy that you want to choose for your data in Pravega. So for example, if you want backward compatibility, by backward compatibility, logically, the way to think about it is you've got the reader, which can be thought of, if I have to draw the analogy, think of it as the server client model, where the Pravega reader is the server and Pravega writer is the client. The writer is initiating a request, and the reader is supposed to make sense of it, consume that data, right? So here, backward compatibility means your server should be able to read data or requests coming in from both latest client as well as older client. So in this example, in this analogy, it would be readers being able to read data written by both older writers and newer writers. Similarly, if you invert this, the forward compatibility is when your server is on lower version and your clients could potentially be on server's version or higher version, where your writers are on higher version and your readers are reading with a schema which is of lower version. If your application is deployed in such a scenario and you want forward compatibility as your compatibility policy choice, you would configure that. And what schema registry does here for you is, it as you are evolving your schema, as you are changing your schema, you bring the new evolved version and register it with the service. The service validates this new schema and only accepts it if and only if the policy that you have configured actually this new schema satisfies that policy. If it does, then that schema is accepted, and then you can subsequently use that schema in your Pravega applications. So compatibility is very context specific. It's your application's usage and how you are deploying and upgrading your application. Schema registry helps you manage and enforce that compatibility policy, apart from being a serving layer for the schema that you have in your application. So the way we have actually built schema registry is, we have decoupled it completely from Pravega. We've conceived it as a separate service, and this service has its own data model. It does not, it has analogous concepts to Pravega's data model. It has an analogous concept to a scope and a stream, but it has its own way of organizing these schemas into something called schema groups. Schema groups are logically equivalent to a Pravega stream, and the typical use case pattern is that for each Pravega stream, you would create a schema group, and there you would store and manage and evolve the schemas for all the data that you would be writing into that Pravega stream. But the important point to note here is, schema registry is actually completely decoupled. It could be used in use cases outside of Pravega. It's not tied to Pravega streams concepts in any way. And secondly, you could use Pravega without actually having to use schemas. You could continue using Pravega the way you have been using it, and nothing prevents you from doing that. So that's a high level overview of schema registry. So as I mentioned, we've got this concept of a schema group, which is essentially the logical collection that's offered by the service. And this is a named artifact under which you actually store all your schemas and evolve them. So for example, if you've got a schema group called group 1, where you want to store schemas of type user, and the serialization format that you've used is Avro. So you've defined your schema in Avro format, and you've specified whatever compatibility policy. We've got a choice of different compatibility policies to choose from, ranging from backward and forward policies to backward transitive, which means compare with all the previous schemas. Backward till, compare with all the schemas till a specific version. Similarly, forward and forward till, and bidirectional, which is called full, and full transitive. So that's how things stand. And what schema registry does is, it stores a version history of your schemas. It allows evolution of the schema based on the policy that you've chosen, and it assigns unique identifiers to schemas so that you can actually tag your data with this schema identifier, and the readers can actually resolve the schema corresponding to that data by talking to schema registry. So this is the high level concept, and this is a 20,000 feet view of schema registry architecture. It's actually you would typically deploy it in a high availability mode with more than one instance running. Each service instance is actually stateless. It caches these schemas, but it durably stores schemas in Pravega. Pravega has key value tables that Andre will introduce to us later in the day. So we make use of key value tables to store schemas for each group. So all the metadata related to a schema group is actually stored in a dedicated table for that schema group in Pravega tables. And we provide a client SDK that Pravega applications can actually make use of. This schema registry client SDK, along with schema registry serializers SDK, actually abstracts away all the interaction that you have to do with schema registry, and you write your Pravega application the way you write it right now. I'm assuming people are familiar with that, or at least I'll take that leap of faith here to assume that everyone is familiar of how to write Pravega applications with Pravega writer instantiation and Pravega reader instantiation. So the way you plug in schema registry there is Pravega applications provide a serializer interface. Basically, let me get to that in a bit. Basically, Pravega applications provide a serializer interface, and schema registry provides implementation of this serializer interface. So when you actually instantiate a Pravega writer, what you do is you instantiate it with a particular serializer that this writer library then makes use of to receive each of your data and pass it to this serializer, which would serialize it and give the raw bytes to the Pravega client library, and Pravega client library then transmits these raw bytes over to the Pravega data broker segment store, right? So this is where we actually inject our schema registry. We provide serializers. We have serializers for Avro, Protobuf, and JSON. Apart from that, we allow custom serializers that you can define and use. And for Avro, Protobuf, and JSON, we have got this good decoration of extracting or getting the schema from either the generated classes or the POJOs if that serialization format allows for it. For example, Avro and JSON, you can take a Java POJO object and extract a schema out of it. So all you have to do is just say JSON schema dot of your class name or Avro schema of class name, and it will get the schema which will get registered with the service. So in a Pravega application, this is how it would essentially get used. You've got your event writer where the schema registry serializer is injected, and when you write data, what it will do is it will first query schema registry, and for a writer this happens first time when you have instantiated the serializer. It talks to schema registry. It says this is the schema that this writer application wants to make use of. Schema registry provides the identifier that uniquely identifies that schema. Then you tag your data with that identifier, and that data is written into Pravega. And at the read time, when the reader reads those bits, it knows that the first few bits are actually the schema registry issued identifier. So it resolves it against schema registry, and it makes use of it to deserialize the data from that point on. So different events in Pravega stream could be tagged with different IDs because they would have been written with a different schema potentially, and readers could resolve that. And while reading, they actually cache the schema that they've seen, so that every time they see an identifier and they've already retrieved it from the registry service, they don't have to make a network call to get the schema again. So they optimize it by caching the schemas that they've already retrieved and work with that. One other interesting thing that we have done is we have gone over and beyond just the schema. What we also allow you to actually get unique identifiers for is a concept called encoding ID. This encoding ID essentially represents your schema as well as any additional encoding that you want to do on that serialized blob. So for example, if you are serializing it and then compressing it, and let's say you've used snappy compression, so you could tag the fact that this data has been encoded as schema plus snappy codec, which has been used to compress it, right? So we allow you to register this fact with the schema registry that this data has been encoded in this specific way, and we issue a unique identifier for a schema plus codec pair. So a codec is just a string name identifying what encoding you've used, and it will typically be the MIME type names. And if there are additional property sets that you want to associate with it, you could do that. And the registry issues an encoding ID for a schema plus codec pair, and this is encoded along with the data. So we've got 1 byte reserved as the magic byte for our schema registries encoding format, and then we've got 4 byte which is to encode the identifier. So each data that's being written into Pravega using our serializers actually has these 5 additional bytes. So that's the additional cost that you actually incur while using schema registry. For writers, as I said, at the time of instantiation of the serializer, they just register it with the service and get the identifier corresponding to the schema that serializer is going to be making use of. And from that point on, it doesn't really need to interact with the registry service. And a reader application needs to interact with the registry service for each unique encoding ID that it sees. And once it has actually retrieved the information corresponding to that encoding ID and cached it, it doesn't need to contact the registry service again. So there is no latency impact as such, except every unique time you see a new encoding ID. But there is some payload size cost, which is about 5 bytes per event. And schema registry is typically more meaningful and useful if you have some structure to the data, which is relatively big, right? If you're just writing integers into the stream, which are going to take 4 bytes, and you are encoding it with additional 5 bytes, that does not really make a lot of schema registry for you. This is
we might have lost a few seconds of audio.
So what was the last thing you heard?
It was just like maybe 10 or 15 seconds.
Okay, so I'll just continue on. This is how you instantiate your writers, as I've shown earlier. And similarly, you've got your readers. You could actually deserialize this data into a specific schema, or you could deserialize it into a generic. So for example, Avro has generic record, Protobuf has dynamic message, JSON will just give you a linked hash map, right? So you could actually deserialize into that generic format as well, and that's useful in the BI applications where you want to know the structure, but you don't want to write specific code or include that generated class in your package and compile it, right? So in those cases where you want generic deserialization, we have the generic deserializer versions available as well. In this slide deck, I'm just showing the specific deserializers where you are deserializing it into the test1 class that you have, and all the events will actually be deserialized into that schema. So yeah, that's about it. I don't know if I've exceeded my time or I've been within the time. So we'll open for questions now.
You said you said schema management's built in. Does that mean, I guess there's content type awareness inside of schema registry?
So you declare that this is my content type. So my schema is of type Avro format, or my schema is in JSON format. And then schema registry has compatibility checkers built in. So presently in the current release, we have the compatibility checks only available for Avro, but we have work in progress for JSON and Protobuf compatibility checkers, and we plan to make the whole compatibility checker logic pluggable. So essentially, you could plug in your own custom formats, compatibility checks, and do your own management. And schema registry will expose an interface that you have to build, that you have to implement and plug your management story in. But it is content aware in the sense that it needs to know which format you are writing your schema in, if you want to do these management specific activities like enforcement of compatibility policies. So schema registry, as I said, also allows you to store schema in any of the other formats as well. You declare that this is your format name and you're storing the schema corresponding to that format, but then it's an opaque blob for us that we store. We don't know how to parse it or make sense of it or enforce any policies on it. And eventually when we make the policy check pluggable, people could inject their policy checkers and they could make sense of what that schema looks like and whether it's compatible with the earlier versions or not. Does that answer your question, or was it?
Yeah, that's
Did I?
informative. No, that's exactly what I was looking for, I guess.
So I had a question about schema groups. So schema groups seem to be something similar to scopes for streams, right?
So I have to apologize. Shivesh, you had some echo, and so I muted you while Prajakta was asking. But apparently I can only mute you. I cannot unmute you. I don't know. This is kind of bizarre. You have to unmute yourself. Sorry.
Okay. So yeah, schema groups are analogous to a Pravega stream. Schema groups is where you store your schema that are related in nature, and the way we use it in Pravega applications is for a stream you would store all the related schemas in a schema group and evolve them. So even for scenarios like event sourcing or message bus, where you have multiple types of events being written into the same Pravega stream, you could actually, so schema registry allows you to have multiple types of events within the same schema group, and you could evolve each of them independently. It also allows you to have same schema type in different formats. So for example, if you have the same schema definition in Avro and JSON, and you want to store that in schema registry. So let's say your user, your schema type was user. You were trying to define a structure for your user object in both Avro and Protobuf and JSON, because your different writer applications were written to use different serialization formats, for example. You could do that. You could store these different formats within the same schema group and evolve them independently, where schema registry would perform compatibility checks for each of these schemas with the same type and same serialization format schemas that have been stored under this group, and enforce your policy and accept and evolve the schema subsequently. And the concept analogous to a Pravega scope is something called a namespace that we have. So namespace is nothing but a named entity where all the schema groups have to have a unique name. So if you have so just like your scope, a namespace is your organizational abstraction that we have there.
Got it.
So where have we? Yeah, you go, Ro.
Okay, it was just a question. I mean, Shivesh, you mentioned that that schema registry is completely decoupled from Pravega, so it can be used as a separate service. But then in the next slide, you showed a dependency, with Pravega key value tables to store the data, right? So, I mean, how do you explain this? I mean, this is Pravega key value tables, but could be any other key value store, and this could be the reason for that?
So yes, we have abstracted out the storage layer in our schema registry implementation. So potentially we could have a database or any other NoSQL key value store that we could use instead of Pravega tables. But typically schema registry would be used in the Pravega ecosystem.
Yeah, sure.
So you would deploy schema registry, and we need some durability and consistency guarantees for the schemas that we are storing, right? And we've already got a storage system that provides all those guarantees in Pravega. So we make use of that to store our schema in Pravega itself.
Yeah, good. I mean, the only thing is that you said that it was not like independent, and then there was Pravega, so it could be Pravega, any other storage system that could meet the same semantics, right?
So theoretically, it could be anything. It's just that we only have the Pravega table-based implementation as of now.
Perfect.
And the decoupling that I spoke of is primarily, if you think of the storage abstractions that it provides in terms of it provides your schema management as schema groups, right? And Pravega provides a Pravega stream as the storage abstraction where you're storing your data. These two concepts are completely decoupled. It's just that as a logical relationship, you establish it in your application, and you say that for this stream, I create a schema group where I store all its schemas.
Okay.
So conceptually, you could actually use that same schema group across multiple streams if they were using the same set of schemas. So if you had a data pipeline where you had multiple streams, you could create one schema group where you are evolving these schemas, and in your application, each of these applications could be configured to use that same group ID.
Yeah, got it.